Welcome to another episode of The Heart of the Volunteer. I'm your host, Paul Cummings. And before we get in today's conversation, I want to take a minute and set this up the right way. You know, a lot of the conversations on this podcast are about the challenges facing the volunteer fire service, and this one's no different. We talk about recruitment, we talk about time, we talk about training, family, leadership, purpose, and all the things that keep people coming back when life is pulling them in every other direction. But today's conversation isn't just about a challenge. It's about a fire department facing the possibility that the story it's known for generations is coming to an end. My guest today is Chad Fraser, chief of the Hemlock Fire Department here in New York. Chad's also an old friend of mine, and Hemlock sits in a part of the state that means a lot to me personally. That whole area. Hemlock, Honeoye, Bristol, Naples, Canada, Springwater. Those hills, those roads, they were all part of my childhood, a big part of it. It's rural country, beautiful country. It's the kind of place where, the firehouse isn't just a building, but it's one of the few places in town that still represents community in its purest form. And that's what makes this conversation a little hard, because when a fire department struggles, it's not just a staffing issue. It's not just a budget issue. It's not just something for commissioners, chiefs, and town boards to figure out. It's personal. It's the place where people gave years of their lives. It's the place where young firefighters learned from older ones, where friendships were built, where mistakes were made, where confidence grew, where people found purpose when they may not even have known that's what they were looking for. And for Chad, he found that purpose in a way nobody should ever ask for. His family home was lost to a fire in 2005. And some of the towns I mentioned, Hemlock, Honeoye, Springwater, and Livonia and others, they all showed up for him. And in the middle of that loss, Chad saw something that stayed with him. He saw the care. He saw the camaraderie. He saw people coming together for a family on one of the worst days of their lives. And somewhere in that moment, something took root. He decided he wanted to be a part of that. That's one of the things I love about the fire service. Sometimes it finds people through family tradition. Sometimes it finds people through friends. Sometimes it finds people because they grew up around it. And sometimes it finds people in the ashes of their own worst day. Chad took what happened to his family almost 15 years ago and turned it into service for others. He became a firefighter. He became an officer almost immediately, became an EMT, ultimately led him to where he is today, to becoming chief. And over the last several years, he's done what many chiefs around this country have had to do quietly. He's tried to hold it together. He's responded when there was nobody else. He left work. He answered during the day. He went to calls alone. He leaned on mutual aid more than ever because he already knew the reality long before the tones even dropped. And now, Hemlock is facing a point no chief wants to reach. And truthfully, it's the part that maybe gives me some hesitation about running further. So I can hear it in Chad's voice during this conversation. There's a moment when I asked him what it felt like to put those words out in the sign in front of the firehouse, words that said, "We don't have enough people. Essentially, we're closing." Letting the community know that the department probably won't be able to continue as it has for years. He says it's heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, that it doesn't even feel real yet. And that moment hit me because anyone who has ever truly loved a firehouse understands it was never about the sign. It's about the names on the wall. It's about the people who built the department generations before you. It's about the calls that changed you. It's about training, late nights, fundraisers, the laughter in the bay, the hard conversations in the truck, and the quiet ride home after a call nobody really wants to talk about. It really is about family. And when you feel like you're watching that family change, fade, or come to an end, it hurts in a way that it's hard to explain to people who've never loved it. But this episode's not just sad. I don't want people to hear it in that way. This episode is important because it's honest. And honesty is what the volunteer fire service needs right now, more than anything. We just can't keep pretending that every department is fine just because the truck still gets out of the bay most of the time. We can't keep assuming someone else will always answer. We can't keep measuring success only by whether a call got handled, while ignoring what it took from the same few people to make it happen. Because behind every small department that's still surviving, there may be a chief like Chad, Someone carrying more weight than people realize. Someone trying to protect the community while also trying to protect the people who are left. Someone trying to honor the past while accepting the reality of the present. That's not easy. This conversation is about Hemlock, but it's also about every small town that still depends on volunteers. Every town where the firehouse has been there so long that people just assume it always will be. Every place where people drive by the station without thinking who is actually available if their own emergency happens today. You know, the volunteer fire service, it's not going to disappear all at once. It's going to fade slowly. One missed call, one empty seat, one aged out member, one young person who never actually joins, one family stretched too thin, one chief answering alone. Until eventually, someone has to say the words that nobody wanted to say. And that's where Hemlock is right now. But yet, even in that, there's still something worth honoring, because whether Hemlock continues under its known name, merges with Livonia, or becomes part of something larger, the years of service still mattered. The people who answered still mattered. The families who helped still mattered. The families they helped still mattered. All the calls they made still mattered. And Chad's story matters because it reminds us that the whole thing is about people. People who show up, people who care, people who give what they can until they just can't give anymore. So as you listen to this conversation, I hope you don't hear it as just another episode about recruitment. Hear it as a story about a man who found the fire service after his own family needed help, then spent the next 15 years trying to be that help for somebody else. Hear it as a story about a department trying to face the reality with dignity. And hear it as a reminder that if there's a volunteer firehouse in your town, it's not guaranteed. It's only there because someone's still willing to answer. Today, my guest is Chief Chad Fraser of the Hemlock Fire Department, and this is one of those conversations I hope people take it to heart. Enjoy. All right, welcome to the Heart of the Volunteer. I'm your host, Paul Cummings, once again. And today I'm joined by an old friend of mine, a guy I've known for a very long time, close by here within about 45 miles, Mr. Chad Fraser, Chief of the Hemlock Fire Department. And we're going to get all into what Chad's facing right now. But before we do that, Chad, I want to thank you for joining us today, taking time out of your day to be here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us.
Yep. So we grew up in the same area. It's an area that holds a special place in my heart. That whole Honeoye, Richmond, Hemlock, Springwater, Canadice region. It's where I spent the first 17 years of my life. And the area has always faced its own unique set of challenges. No doubt, it's a very rural territory, very hilly, mountainous territory. Lot of square miles to cover. Chad, before we get into all of that and what you're dealing with, why don't we give our viewers a little background on your story, where you came from, what led us to this moment today?
Sure. I have been part of the Hemlock Fire Department for almost 15 years. Fire service wasn't in my family like you. We, as a family, lost our family home in 2005 to a fire. Hemlock, Honeoye, Springwater, everyone responded, Livonia, all those guys. And the camaraderie, just was amazing that I saw, the caring, the everything. And I'm like, I have to be part of this. Yep. Didn't realize many of the friends that I grew up with were in the fire service. That would put me somewhere around 30 years old when this happened. Yep. Jumped in and once again, the whole facing power or manpower shortages, etc. I learned to be a firefighter while I learned to be a officer at the same time. Of my 15 years, I've been an officer 14 of them. Lieutenant, captain, assistant, 5 years, chief now my 6th year. That's where I'm at now.
Yeah, crazy. It's been a wild ride, I'm sure. So you got Got in a little late. I love the story how the structure fire set you on this path. Let's go back 15 years ago, okay? Let's talk about the Hemlock Fire Department 15 years ago. How many people did we have? What did the situation, what did the picture look like then?
I would dare say we had manpower shortages, but we had probably 15, 20 members then.
Yep.
It was different. It was people available during the day, people during midday, people in the mornings. At all times hours, people were available because there were different shifts everyone was working. I mean, during the day has always been a difficult situation in Hemlock.
Yep.
I remember having multiple calls, time in, time out, to the water treatment plant where we didn't have a crew, and Livonia was responding because they were our mutual aid department at the time, still are.
Right. And speak of Livonia, how far, because again, I'm trying to paint a picture for our listeners, how far is Livonia from Hemlock? So your first set of tones goes out, don't get a response. Second set of tones go out, don't get a response. We're talking probably 5 to 6, 7 minutes right now. Do they go?
5 minutes between each call.
I know recently speaking, there's an automatic agreement, but how long does it take for them to assemble a crew and get them to Hemlock, right in the heart of Hemlock?
So roughly, I mean, you're after your second tone out, they're getting toned out on our third call. There's 15 minutes, and there's another 10 minutes for them to assemble and get on the road probably. So 25, 30 minutes with us not responding.
So looking in different directions, right? You've got Springwater in the other direction. You've got Town of Richmond in the other direction. Same story for all three, or all of those other two, right? Probably about 30 minutes. Even
longer. I mean, Richmond, not so much, but Springwater would probably be a good 45-minute response. Northern portion of our district, we border Lima also, so even getting them rolling would probably take another 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's incredible. So fast forward to today, and what struck me to my core was maybe about, I don't know, it was 2 months ago, a month ago. My deputy chief came into the firehouse, and I think he texted me before that, but he came into the firehouse showing everybody the picture of the sign out front of your firehouse. What did that sign say?
Basically that Hemlock Fire Department is no longer going to exist. We don't have enough crew to respond to calls regularly. Little background on the past couple of years for us. With me being able to run my own business, I've been able to just kind of jump ship and go to a call whenever I want during the day. I think we figured it out that there was probably in the past 3 years somewhere between 60 and 80 calls that I've responded to myself, and I already had Livonia coming almost initially on initial response because I knew I didn't have anyone coming.
Right. So what do the crews look like on a good day, Chad? Like, how many people you got coming to the firehouse today if you get something that bangs out after everybody's home from work?
4 or 5, maybe, tops.
Incredible. And that's a story that we're hearing all around the country. And slowly, I would say that our region has been a little bit more resilient to what's going on around the country, but it's starting to hit home now. And we're starting to see those signs. And like I said, when I saw that sign, I couldn't believe it. Here it is. I never thought in my wildest dreams in my lifetime that we'd be seeing volunteer firehouses close. Everybody that listens to this know, I've been doing this for over 20 years, close 25 in August. Got back in during the heyday of the volunteer fire starters, coming out of the 90s into the early 2000s. Things were great.
Well,
9/11.
9/11, yeah. 9/11, everyone wanted in.
Yep. And then it's been deteriorating ever since. I mean, would you say that? I mean, they talk about this like it's a 10-year problem, like it's something over the last decade. I've seen it over the last 2 decades.
I think it's even more so a 5-year problem.
Yeah.
I think post-COVID has hurt people.
I agree with that.
Hurt just volunteerism in general, not just the fire service, everything.
Yep.
Everyone has placed a value on their time, and family all of a sudden, I don't want to say all of a sudden because family before was important, but even more important now.
Right. I think that's a very valid statement. Is that what you're seeing right now with a lot of people?
I think in this area that's what a lot of this is. I tried getting Andrew to join, who is my son. He went to Honeoye, and he didn't like how he was treated as an explorer.
Yeah.
Kids now aren't like we were going through in the beginning. Ride them hard, teach them to be firefighters. You can't do that anymore. You've got to make them feel included and respected. And it's sad. I had a couple of, we turned our Explorer program into a junior firefighter program. I had two that were great. One ended up getting into an altercation with another member who'd been there a lot longer. We had to let him go. Another one just moved out of the area, didn't stay, so he went elsewhere. And it's hard. It's hard to cherry pick in a 500-person community.
Right. I was going to ask you what the population looks like these days in Hemlock.
Yeah, and honestly, most homes in Hemlock aren't homes; they're rentals.
Right.
People don't feel vested when they don't own a piece of property or a building in an area.
Right.
As far as commercially, I have a smoke shop and I have a Dollar General, an Agway, or what was the Agway in Hemlock, and I have a 7-Eleven commercially. Back in the day, all those people who worked at Ledco and Agway, if the tones dropped, they were allowed to run and help. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah, it seems like that whole sense of community everywhere, even back home in Bergen for me. That's the one thing that I was saying I started to notice over the last 2 decades is our sense of community. It used to be a time when you would go and settle down in a community and you got invested in that community. You knew the people, yeah. You knew your neighbors, you knew the business owners in town, you knew the restaurant owners because you were there, you frequented them so much. Now it seems like people move to a town and they drive from work to their house back to work. And they don't spend time investing in the community anymore. I swear to God, there's people in Bergen that don't even know we have a firehouse because they literally get off 490, go to home, and then get back on 490 and head to the city and go to work. That's they drive a half mile in Bergen. That's it.
One path, yep.
You know, I think that plays a big effect. And, and that's what I was going to ask you. We talk about time, and one of my big arguments is that, 20 years ago, we were still busy people. We still had kids. I mean, the older guys had kids. I didn't have kids, obviously, 20 years ago, but they still had the same commitments. We still had things going on at the school. What's shifted? Like, why over the last 2 decades? You mentioned COVID. I think that's a valid reason, but how has time become so valuable that we put ourselves first over everybody else?
I have one of my life members, and I'll use this because I was guilty of this, and I don't want to say guilty of it. It was family. Travel sports. Kids, you get your kids into travel sports and you don't know where you're going to be weekend in, week out.
Sure.
I have a life member who would love to be right there standing next to me at every single situation we had, but he is literally all over New York State, Northern Pennsylvania, and Canada at any given time because his kids play hockey, because they play softball on travel leagues. I believe some of that is stuff that we didn't face ourselves even as children. There were travel leagues, and travel leagues were like the all-star team, and you got to go to the town 2 or 3 towns away, and you were back in town later that evening.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's definitely played. But how about people that don't have kids? Because a lot of people don't have kids. What about, you think it's a societal shift where that society is just telling us we need to focus on ourselves, or you think there's something else at play?
I think some of it is our own state doing that, state regulations. You tell someone that they've got to be in class for 200 hours before we can allow you to go in a building. And I mean, 200 hours is an exaggeration. It's not 200 hours, it's 160, but more or less. Yeah.
I think we've done a terrible job at that messaging, right? Especially today, and even back then, you don't have to be an interior firefighter. right? There's 3 or 4 paths. So that approaching 200 hours, right? That's if you want to go all in and you want to fight fire. And I think that's what we've done wrong. We call it the fire department, but maybe you can attest this. How many structure fires does Hemlock see in a year? How many? You know what? I'll double down and I'll give you car fires and throw that into that. How many fires does Hemlock see a year? On average, I know that some years are more than others.
So on average, we get called to 20 structure fires a year.
Yep.
We're canceled to probably at least 10 of them before we even get on the road.
Yep.
5 of them we end up either hooking a hydrant or running a tanker shuttle, and have nothing to do with interior manpower or extinguishing the fire. So we're not even anywhere near that. And then maybe if we're lucky, being that I've only got 3 interior firefighters, like maybe 2 a year.
Yeah,
we actually get to go do something.
Yeah, and that's what I keep saying. But we push the messaging, right? We push. You got to be this tough guy. You got to be able to walk through fire. When 99% of our emergencies have nothing to do with fire, it's about
absolutely
being there for the community. And I don't want to downgrade, because I know there's a contingent of firefighters out there that really push the training hard, and I'm all about training. I think it's hard to sit here and go, we should peel back the layers of training. Do I think that they've gone excessive on some areas? We can have that discussion too. I took firefighting essentials back in 2001. It was 50, 60 hours. And I don't believe that I'm any less of a firefighter for having taken that class versus Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, BFO, IFO. Now, they've granted a lot of modules, but that EF class was designed and built for the types of emergencies I was going to respond to. I didn't go into tactical rescue and swift water and, all this other stuff that they kind of do give you flavors of now. But the point being is, when we get people in, you don't have to go all in right now. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely.
And build them into it. So, I don't know, again, every fire department's a little different. In my home, we have 18 months. You got 18 months to figure out what you want to do. And by that, I mean
2 years.
18 months to get enrolled in something. Yep. And my hope is that we can start to change this messaging and say, look, Chad, I'm going to invite you in. Just come in. We're going to get you enough training to get you on the truck. We're going to teach you about traffic. We're going to teach you about incident command. We're going to give you enough knowledge to go experience what we experience. Because I guarantee that the first couple calls you go on, you'll be asking me when you can sign up for BFO. And I've seen it time and time again. So what has the effort been like, Chad? And maybe there hasn't been. I know you guys are strapped for people and time, and there's so many responsibilities to get done. What has Hemlock's effort been to try to get the word out there to the population that we're in trouble and we need you?
Everything. We've done it. We've signs. We've knocked door to door. Once again, I go back to the lack of community. They're not vested because they don't own their home. Right. A lot of rentals. I also have a large demographic of farmers. I have another large demographic of elderly.
It's a good place to go when you're getting to that second age, man.
Well, and that's the other thing. With we being unsure of the OSHA regulations coming down, I feel bad going to ask someone who's 58, 59 years old to come drive for us, because what if that age is 60? It may be something older. I don't know. But I can't ask someone after 2 years or tell someone after 2 years, hey, we no longer need you.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Go on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm absolutely blown away. We've got a member that I know of. Not sure if you know, I also am an EMT now. I did see that started running with Livonia EMS. Yep. We have a member who's dual member over in Livonia, EMS and fire, who's 72 years old. He's in better shape than 90% of the people in my department and Livonia's fire department. And he's just going to be asked to stop after 50 some odd years of service. How
do you even do that?
I know.
Yep. We got every fire department, it seems that's the same story, mine included. You got these guys. We've got one guy, I think he's getting close to 80. And he still puts an air pack on. I mean, he doesn't go in. He's not going to fight a house fire interior, but he still puts a pack on, helps us drag hose. And I keep thinking, to me, it's like, we don't ever want to tell him to stop. You do that. But the fact that he's going to be faced with that decision after 50, 60 years that, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. You know, dude, you've got enough time invested, and I'm going to get to this now. This place means a lot to you. You wouldn't be sitting here fighting tooth and nail on this podcast right now if Hemlock, not just the fire department, but this entire community didn't mean something to you. So tell me how hard it was to put those words out on that sign and know that you're looking at the end of the tunnel. Tell me what that feels like, because to me, I can't imagine.
This is the first time someone's actually asked me that. It's heartbreaking. It's terrible. It's gut-wrenching. I don't know what to do. It's been home for 15 years. I don't have words to say how I feel about it at this point. It doesn't seem real yet because it's not real yet. We're still doing our day-to-day, and not everyone, but most are still responding and there. It's a reality that I had to bring to a table. Probably last January, I told my fire commissioners that we need to do something. They knew I'd been responding day to day or every day during the day by myself. Like, so much so they went out and got me an Enforcer 3. So I had like the 30-gallon Enforcer to help
do something,
contain whatever I could do. Yep. We are to the point where, like, it's running through my head now. Like, time is winding down. I have 7 months left.
So it's terrible. Like, and I go back to doing the shows, like, instantly as you're talking, Chad, my mind goes back to, I think most people that watch this know a little bit about my backstory with the songs and the tour. And I remember going out to Hemlock on the 30 and 30, and we had like a bay full of people, and the community, we were outside in the back talking. I felt like I became part of the family that night. And it became heartbreaking to start to see this over the last few months. So has there been a contingency? What do those meetings look like right now? We got 6 or 7 months left. Is there a final push that we're going to try to save this, or have we given up the battle and we're just now phasing out? The next 6 months is more about phasing out.
The next 6 months are working with Livonia and a merge consolidation.
So tell me what that looks like. Does that mean that people in Livonia that live kind of closer to Hemlock can respond to the Hemlock station, or are we absolving entirely into Livonia?
So we are keeping our station open. We're not sure. It's very early. We don't know what the names of what anything is going to be, whether it be Station 1, Station 2, 3, A, B. At this point, I really don't care. It's still going to be a fire station. Yep. Most everyone in Hemlock, from what I'm understanding, will be able to, or most everyone in the Hemlock Fire Department will be able to apply for membership in Livonia. Our fastest phase for this to actually happen was for one fire department to dissolve, not both, and restart fresh. Kind of like Kylerville and Leicester, they kind of reformed a whole new district. Right. When they did that last year. That will not happen. Right. Livonia will remain Livonia Fire District, and I'm not sure, like, once again, I don't know anything about like name changes. I don't think that'll happen because Livonia will be what it is. It'll be Livonia Fire District, I believe. Yeah. Still really early stages of all this. We don't know yet because honestly, 2 months ago, we were told, we're not quite sure this is going to happen until 2028. And 2 days later, it was, nope, this is happening this year. This will be your final year as the Hemlock Fire District.
So is this something that the town of Hemlock is in on and kind of help decide? Just the Hemlock Fire Department thing? Walk me through.
Hemlock Fire Commissioners, they're elected officials. That's why we put them in those positions. And lots of talks back and forth at commissioner meetings between myself and the fire commissioners. And we decided that at this time that would be what was best for our taxpayers. They're paying for a service they're not getting adequately.
Right, absolutely. So tell me,
unfortunately.
Well, and then that's, your case. I think I just heard in New York State alone this year, I think 4 or 5 confirmed fire stations closing, similar to your situation. Every year that number seems to be going up. Tell me a little bit about, I know Livonia's situation. We talked a lot about Livonia. There's 2 other places that we talked about earlier in this interview, and that would be Honeoye, Richmond, and Springwater. Those places I grew up, they're my stomping grounds, and tell me about their situation. When you call a town of Richmond, are you getting a full truck? Are they very much in the same boat, time of day?
Time of day plays big for the entire surrounding area.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone's working a day shift, and we're few and far between for firefighters. Honestly, if a structure fire were to happen, let's say the mutual aid agreement that we have with Livonia wasn't in place right now. Well, I can't really say that because we've always had a structure fire agreement with the 3 towns. Let's say a structure fire broke out in, we'll say Canadice, which is a town that Honeoye, Richmond, and Hemlock both worked for the past 25 years probably together or longer. You would probably have fire departments from Bristol, Honeoye, Springwater, Hemlock, Livonia, possibly Lima, just to make sure we had enough manpower to,
right.
And that might not even cover it, honestly. The other problem that I'll go back and say even Livonia and Honeoye are having right now is that age problem. Most of their day crew is well over 50 years old.
Yeah.
If I had to guess and put a number on their day crew, I bet you your average is probably 62 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In both departments.
It's a retirement community for the most part these days, right? I mean,
it is.
This is crazy, Chad. Like I said, I never thought we'd be having conversations like this. It started 10, 15 years ago. I could when we were out on the 30 and 30, you started to see the fissures break. You go into different fire departments, and never thought we'd be having this discussion, though. If anybody from Hemlock is listening right now, and I assume some are going to stumble upon this because I'm going to share it. I'm hoping you guys are going to share it.
Sure.
What do you want them to know today? What do you want them to hear? If you got a microphone, you got the whole town of Hemlock right in front of the stage. What are you telling them about where you're at right now?
We appreciate their 100 years of support. I'm sorry we couldn't do anything more to keep us open longer, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, Chad, my heart's with you, buddy. I know this is a tough time because I often equate the fire department. It's my family, and I talk about the people in the building, and it's not just my building. It's other buildings. It's Hemlock. It's Honeoye. It's all around the area. Canandaigua. I've got brothers and sisters everywhere. It's like my family more so than a lot of my family. I go down on Monday nights and it's a family reunion every Monday night, more so than when I go to my actual family reunion. It's crazy. So for Bergen, if we ever had to go through this, man, I'm telling you, man, it'd break my heart. It'd be like losing a family member. So my heart is for sure with you on this. And I'd like to touch base with you again as we get later in the summer, as we get towards this merger. I'm very curious how this is going to work out, how it's going to benefit the town of Hemlock, how it improves response times, how the camaraderie is going between the 2 departments. I assume you guys work well together now, have been for a long time.
That's something when I became chief 6 years ago, I pushed really hard, and honestly, joining EMS has
helped it.
Bridged that gap. Yeah, it's wonderful. I love a lot of those guys, just like you do everywhere else. A lot of those guys are some of my best friends right now, and
it's hard to replace.
It's going to be a good thing, I think, honestly.
Good. Well, so let's just say I ask every guest this, regardless if I've known you for a million years or I don't know you. I'm Paul. I just moved to Hemlock. I don't have much experience, right? I want to join. I know I have this calling in my heart, which we obviously call the heart of the volunteer. I got this pull. I want to do something. Chad, I got to be somewhere in 2 minutes. I just showed up. Why should I take this application, fill it out, and return it to you?
Not sure how you are on family, but if you love family, this is a great place to be.
Excellent answer. The other thing I always try to tell people, like, if you could take that feeling, again, we push the fire narrative, we push the mental health aspect. Everybody sees this from the outside. Oh my gosh, we're going to go see all this tragic stuff. We're going to need counseling. We're going to need chaplains. I look at the fire department, it has been one of the best things for my mental health. And I'm not saying that we don't go into bad situations. I'm not saying there's MVAs that aren't bad. And I'm not saying there's fires that aren't bad. I'm not saying there's EMS calls that aren't bad. It's part of the job. It happens. But 99% of the time, you do good. You go to a gas leak, a minor car accident, and you provided comfort to somebody. And you don't get thanked for that, but you go home knowing that you did that. And if I could just bottle what that feels like, put it in a bottle, and let everybody drink it, like, you'd know, but we're trying to do the best we can, Chad. And I think you did a great job of explaining your love and what you're going through. And again, I appreciate you taking the time with us today. Give us a little backstory on that. Anything else you'd like to say while you've got the opportunity?
No, I'm good right now.
All right. Well, Chad, thank you for all your hard work. We're going to be touching base. I want to know how this is going, and we'll go from there. For everybody else, it's been another episode of The Heart of the Volunteer. Chad Fraser, our guest from the Hemlock Fire Department here in New York State. We'll be keeping tabs on them. So I hope everybody tunes in next time. We'll have some more great conversation. Thank you. I really want to thank Chad for joining me today. And more than that, I want to thank him for being willing to talk about something that can't be easy to say out loud. Because this isn't just a conversation about fire trucks, district lines, or consolidation. It's a conversation about a firehouse family trying to face reality. And that reality is heavy. Because when a department reaches the point Hemlock has reached, there's grief in that. Even if the station stays open, even if the community is still protected, even if the merger is the right decision for the future, there's still grief in watching something you love so much change into something different. Anyone who has ever truly belonged to a firehouse knows that. It becomes more than a place. It becomes part of your life, part of your schedule, part of your friendships, part of your identity. It becomes the place you go when the tones drop, but it also becomes the place you go when nothing's happening at all. The place where you sit around after drill, the place where you laugh harder than you probably should in some cases. It's the place where you learn from people who've been doing it a lot longer than you've been alive. The place where you slowly shape into someone, you become different. And that's what makes this so hard, because from the outside, people may see the fire department as a service, and it is. It's there to protect lives, property, and the community. But from the inside, it also serves as a family. And when that family starts to fade or shrink or become part of something larger, it hurts. Now, that doesn't mean anybody failed. I want to be very clear about that. This episode is not about failure. It's about reality. It's about what happens when the same few people carry the load for too long. It's about what happens when communities change, when people move in but don't always connect, when people's jobs pull them away from town, when young families are stretched in every direction, and when the older members are still willing but time is catching up to them. And most of all, it's when the next generation doesn't walk through the door fast enough to replace the ones that were built in place. That's not one person's fault. That's not one department's fault. But it is everyone's problem. We'll be clear about that too. Because the emergency doesn't stop coming just because the roster gets smaller. The call doesn't wait until there's enough people available. The fire doesn't care who's at work. The MVA doesn't care who's at a ball game. The medical emergency does not care if the same 3 people are tired. Someone still has to go. And for years in Hemlock, Chad and the members who were left kept it going. Sometimes with 4 or 5 people. Sometimes with mutual aid already on the way. Sometimes with Chad responding by himself because he knew someone had to start the response. That matters. That deserves respect. It deserves more than a quiet ending. Because even if Hemlock stays open and changes, the service given there does not disappear. The service they've given doesn't disappear. Because even if the Hemlock Fire District changes, the service given there does not disappear. The calls still mattered. The people helped still mattered. The families comforted still mattered. The years given still mattered. Every missed dinner mattered. Every late night mattered. Every training night mattered. Every time someone left their own life to help someone else, it mattered. And I hope the people of Hemlock understand that. I hope they understand what they've had all these years. And I hope they understand that the firehouse did not stay open because it was automatic. It stayed open because people within the community chose to keep showing up. And that's the part every community member needs to hear. Your fire department is not guaranteed. Let me say it again. Your fire department is not guaranteed. It may feel like it is. It may feel like it's been there your whole life, because it has. You may drive by it every day without thinking twice, but it's only there because someone is still willing to answer. Someone is still willing to train. Someone is still willing to leave home. Someone is still willing to get up in the middle of the night, and someone is still willing to carry the weight. And in too many places, that someone is becoming fewer and fewer people. So maybe the question after this episode is not, what happened to Hemlock? Maybe the question is, what is happening to my own town? Because how many people are really showing up? How many seats are empty? How many calls are being answered by the same group? How many chiefs are quietly wondering how long they can keep doing this? Because Hemlock is not alone. Hemlock is just one of the places where reality became too serious to hide. And maybe that can still serve a purpose. Maybe this story can make another community pay attention sooner. Maybe it can make someone stop by their local firehouse and just ask the question. Maybe it can make a town board, a business owner, a school leader, or a neighbor ask how they can help before their own department reaches this point. And maybe it can remind the people already serving that their work still matters even when the road ahead is uncertain. To Chad and every member of the Hemlock Fire Department, thank you. Thank you for the calls you answered. Thank you for the years you gave. Thank you for trying to hold the line as long as you could. And to Livonia and the surrounding departments that continue to step in for one another, thank you as well. Because that's another part of this story. When one department struggles, the neighbors feel it too. That's what mutual aid really means. It's not just trucks and people crossing district lines. It's people crossing district lines for other people. That's still the heart of the fire service. That's the heart worth fighting for. So if you're listening today and you live in a town protected by volunteers, don't wait until the sign goes up. Don't wait until the department says it can't continue. Don't wait until the people who've always answered are just too tired, too old, or too few. Walk through the door. Ask where you fit. Find out what your department actually needs. Maybe it's firefighting. Maybe it's EMS. Maybe it's driving. Maybe it's support, fundraising, administration, public education, or just helping the people who are already carrying way too much. There's a place for more people than most communities realize. But there also has to be a willingness to step forward, because the firehouse doesn't survive on history alone. It survives when the next person decides it's worth keeping alive. It's been another episode of The Heart of the Volunteer. Thank you for listening. As always, if there's a firehouse in your community, don't just drive by. Stop in, ask questions, find your place, answer the call. Thank you.